The dictionary defines law as something regarded as having binding force or effect. It is vital to understand that every law is a realization of the existence of intangible yet effective power. Take the law of gravity, for instance. We can't see it, we can't feel it, but it exists. And its existence affects every person present on the planet.
64,000 is the median number of words per book. Average person reads about 200 words per minute. Simple math will tell us that is one book in 320 minutes. To accomplish this in 7 days, numbers say you would have to read for 45 minutes a day. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification button, like, comment, and share. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Book of the Week series. Every week as I read another amazing title, I share it with the world. My name is Igor S.F. Walker. Today, we look at 12 Laws of the Universe by Manhardeep Singh. So, how about you slow down and relax? Reduce all that noise, just a bit. Make that choice and decide to listen. In this video, we look at a book written with a to-a-point language and with the intent to reach a reader in a clear way. 12 Laws of Universe is an intriguing self-realization book that you can use to start changing the world you live in today. Stick around till the end. I will share with you some tools I haven't used that will help you tremendously in this game of life. Discover a way to find out what actually motivates you, what innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. I will share some tools to improve your self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. One of the components of my Master of Life Awareness program are exactly these universal laws. So check that out as well. The universal laws share these properties. They are intangible. The 12 laws are the realization of such forces that exist and affect every being on the planet, yet they are intangible and invisible. They cannot be touched or felt. 2, they are boundless. The 12 laws of the universe are boundless. They're not bounded to a particular area or are stopped by any country's border. They exist everywhere, just like air. And finally, they are also timeless. The 12 laws are timeless. They have always been, they are, and they always will be. It is now that there has been a realization of their existence. They show us how we ended up where we are, how to trust and how to use the laws to create flow, to get somewhere else. In other words, the laws provide a roadmap of how we can make the most of life. When you think about the spiritual laws of the world, your mind may go directly to the law of attraction. However, it turns out that there's a whole network of interconnected spiritual laws that can affect every aspect of your life. Even better, these rules can be used to support the law of attraction, but you do not have to work with them for a specific manifestation. The first and the most fundamental law of the universe is the law of divine oneness. It emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things. It says that beyond our senses, every thought, action, and event has something to do with everything else. In other words, every choice, word, desire, hope, belief you do have affects the world and the people in your life. Of course, we are separate people. But this is only for one level of reality, the physical reality. You and I are both physical expressions of the same energy. In fact, all living things are the manifestation of the same source energy. This is the law of divine oneness. Every single atom inside of you is connected in some way, shape, or form to the rest of the universe. You move through. So here's an important question to contemplate upon. How would you behave if you really knew that you were not separate from the life of your friends, your colleagues, and every being that has ever existed? The answer is this: probably different. So let's find out how we are connected to everyone else. So you're born from another human being. Two, actually. Two people connected and made you. There's no other way to make life. Then those two people who made you, another two people had to make them. A total of four, actually. And then the two people who made them took another two people to make them, and so on and on. On and on goes the process, and we are all connected somehow through this process, and somewhere, way back there, this process was started somewhere. See, a person in a low energy can take a lot away from the world. It automatically stops people from being at their highest energy. The law of vibration. It is important to consider that if enough people run through the world with low energy, the world starts to be dragged down. Now the same applies for the higher energy. If you and I can vibe high through life, we will affect those with low energy. Our high vibes will come down a bit, but their low vibes will come up. The law of divine oneness isn't something that you apply. Instead, it is more of a living with an awareness of we are all connected. Keep this law in your mind when you interact with others, knowing that you are connected to everyone and everything you interact with. How will you be different? How will you interact? And what can you do to raise your vibrations while raising others? Be mindful of your thoughts, your actions, your behavior, for they send waves throughout the universe. And since we are all connected, what goes around comes back around in some form. Now, the second law of the universe is the law of vibration. Every creature, every inanimate object, every thought, feeling, desire has its own unique vibration. Science has proven this in the physical world. The frequency of solids is lower than those of liquids and gases. Similarly, the colors we see are only different frequencies of light. Red has the lowest frequency and violet has the highest frequency. Same concept applies for thoughts and feelings. Emotional vibrations, such as love, joy, and gratitude, they have a higher frequency than pain, despair, and anger. And if you want to know where you are vibrating at any given moment, there's an easy way to find it. What are you thinking? How do you feel? What is happening around you? When you are in a low vibration state, you will experience stress, anxiety, depression, sadness, and anger. You are short of people, and it is usually unpleasant to be around you. Now, when you have your high vibrations vibing, you feel relaxed, optimistic, eager, and grateful. In this space, things tend to take their course, taking a deep breath, choosing a different reaction, and then letting go is a higher vibration choice. So pay attention to your intuitive vibrations in any situation, and pay attention to the vibrations you generate through thoughts and actions. At the micro level, everything is in constant motion. Vibrating at a specific frequency applies not only to objects, but also to personal frequencies. This law says that our vibrational frequency can provide information for our life experience. Everything in the universe has a frequency and a vibration. Nothing will stop because everything is always pushed or pulled towards something in addition. Like vibration elements attract each other. So to use this rule to attract your desires, you must match your vibration with the vibration of what you want. The third law of the universe is the law of attraction. So the law of vibration, the second law, says, and we know, that everything has a unique vibration. The law of attraction says that vibration of the same frequencies attract each other. Higher frequency thoughts attract more of the same things, just as lower frequency thoughts attract more of the same things. See, most people like to use the law of attraction to attract things into their lives. Partner, better job, more money, etc. This sometimes succeeds, but usually it won't. If it did, we would all be living in our dream homes and we would all be satisfied with our bodies, but we're not. There are many reasons that people do not find the results from the traditional teachings of the law of attraction. One reason is that the key they do not realize there are 11 other laws. It could be considered that are crucial for working with this law. You are a magnet, and your experience is the embodiment of the energy you release, consciously or unconsciously. Look around and realize that you are attracting a real environment you are living in at the moment. If you repeat a statement, but you do not believe what you say, it is useless and you don't feel it. When you focus on what you want instead of what you do not want, it will appear in your life. The law of correspondence. As above, so below. It teaches us that your inner world will determine what manifests in your outer world. We must first align ourselves with the inner vibration of abundance, and then the outer reality will begin to respond accordingly. It is certainly not easy when it comes to certain topics that we emphasize, but when it comes to topics with a little or no resistance, things change surprisingly fast. If you want to change your external environment, you must do the inner work first. Stand still, clarify, and then watch your situation begin to change. As above, so below. As within, so without. The law of action, the fifth law of the universe. You must take action to get results. Sitting on your butt and thinking about things in reality is good, but manifestation will not be happening like that. Although vibration is a big piece of the puzzle, it takes inspired action to get your results. The key word here is inspired action. And inspired action is an action that aligns with what you are really passionate about. Your desires are brought to you via thought, and you receive them when you decide to take action. Many people think that visualizing goals and developing a positive attitude towards them is just enough to use the law of attraction. You must also take inspiring steps to achieve the goal you actually want to achieve. The law of cause and effect, the sixth law of the universe, states simply that every action has its consequence. The principle that one's intentions and actions influence one's future is so omnipresent that it appears in many of the spiritual traditions. Karma is a popular example. I believe that almost all cultures in the world have some form of you reap what you sow, or what goes around comes around in their lexicon. Going back to the first universal law, we know that everything we think or do is not in isolation because we are all connected. Now, whether it is good or bad, our thoughts and our actions will eventually be reflected back to us in some way. Shallow men believe in luck. Strong men believe in cause and effect. Awareness is key. The problem is that we are not always aware of our thinking patterns, and we want to know how the situation ultimately happened to us. One of the simplest laws in the universe, the law of cause and effect, tells us that all actions have corresponding reactions. Your spiritual life affects the world around you, causing positive or negative reactions. Likewise, your physical environment affects your spirituality, for better or for worse. Ask yourself, what kind of a relationship you see between the spiritual and the physical aspects, and how you might want to change them. The law of compensation, the seventh law of the universe. This law states that we will be blessed based on the good deeds we do and the value we provide. When we show generosity to others, we will be rewarded generously. Now remember, there are many forms of compensation, not just cash, beautiful house, a Ferrari, or a reward of relaxing on a beach. Compensation also comes in forms of blessings such as good health, loyal friends, loving families, teachers or mentors, job opportunities, $1 million ideas, and so on. For example, if you get a lot of money, you may think that you are getting rewarded. However, depending on your lifestyle, your large wealth may actually lead to a worse life rather than a better life. Essentially, you reap what you sow. This law reminds you to be careful with others, even with the planet. It instills trust in us that we will be compensated for our work as long as we are open to receiving in all the many ways that the universe can deliver. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy, the eighth law of the universe, states that energy is always moving and always changing. This may sound as if you have a superpower, and that's because you do. It is one of those things that sound obnoxiously easier than it is. You would have heard, energy flows where attention goes, which is the gist of the law. Who is the thinker of your thoughts? You are. So, by exercising your power to activate thoughts that serve you instead of those that do not, you can transmute negative vibes first into neutral ones, then into happier territory. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. You always have the ability to trigger positive change in your life by choosing a better feeling thought in any given situation. Be aware of the stories you tell yourselves, and then upgrade them into ones that get you closer to where you would like to be instead of keeping you stuck where you are. To put the law in practice, it is recommended to do small things that will uplift your energy every single day. Whether it is singing in the shower, dancing like nobody's watching, or anything that works for you, remember, small changes equal big results. The law of relativity, the ninth law of the universe, says that it is all relative. If you look at what you have in life, you will always have more. if you look at what you do not have in life, you will never have enough. Looking at a bad situation from a different perspective can actually help you transmute it into gratitude. No matter how bad it is for you, someone will always be in a worse situation. There is nothing good or bad, nor is anyone born good or bad. Everything's just a series of expressions. And there's more than one point of view for any situation or a challenge. In other words, we are the ones that give meaning to things. So we can choose to see things as bad or as good for us. The law of polarity, the 10th law of universe, says there are two sides to everything. All truths are but half-truths, and every truth is a half false. There are two sides to everything. Opposites are identical in nature, yet different in degree. When considering the law of polarity, the most important thing to remember is that absolutely everything has its opposite. And it is the existence of these opposites that allows us to understand our lives. Therefore, when you experience some difficulties, it will help you to truly appreciate the good development ahead. The law of rhythm, the 11th law of the universe, states nothing is permanent. Tides, ebbs and flows, the seasons change, day turns into night and then becomes a day again. These are expressions of rhythm. For thousands of years, energy is always moving. And these movements create cycles and create patterns. Polarity, we actually need other stages because they are a part of a larger whole. This law teaches us to step back 100 steps and realize that everything has its time. We often hope that things meet our conditions and our schedule. But if you just take a deep breath, be patient, we will see that the trend is always reversing. Believe in the process. Go with the flow of the rhythm. We do not control these rhythms, but if you can learn to go with the flow instead of resisting it, you will be much happier in the long term. If you planted an orchard in October, you would be a frustrated gardener. But if you have the patience to wait until the spring, you will be abundant. Cycles are a natural part of the universe. Finally, the law of gender, the 12th law of the universe, says manifestation requires balance of energies. Creation requires both yin and yang, both masculine and feminine energy is required in creating equilibrium to create anything. First, we must understand a very important thing. All, including us, are a combination of male and female energies. And you must balance them to create the things you want. Although we are born with a male or a female sexual organ, we all have both energies within us that have nothing to do with our sex or our sexuality. The trick is to balance these energies, because only when both are used correctly can we manifest our desires in the material world. We must be patient with our desires, because everything created in the world was first a seedling of thought that was then nurtured by the male and female energies for a period of time, gestation, before it actually becomes a reality. The law of gender applies to everything. Everything has yin and yang. To really master this law, you need to keep your ego in check. Let your ego deal with your physical being, but do not let it dominate your emotional being. And there you have it. 12 laws of the universe. Now please do help out. It is easy. Simply like this video so more people can enjoy it. Share it too and spread the word. Do leave a comment and share your thoughts. Start a conversation. Subscribe to my channel and stay up to date. The link to this book is in the description below, so buy it and read and never stop learning, especially learning about yourself and about nature. So gift yourself by taking the free human needs test on my website and find out what actually motivates you. What innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. And if you feel you are ready to improve your self-awareness, your social awareness, your self-management, and your relationship management even further, do check out my Master of Life Awareness program. Universal laws being one of the components of the program. The links, well, they're in the description below. Thank you. Love and respect.